Application development is constantly evolving, with the introduction of new technologies like mobile and IoT. And now we're in the early days of seeing a similar evolution with AI and LLM-driven experiences that stands to change every digital experience, from the way we order a pizza to planning a family vacation. But these experiences are only as good as their access to real-time and dynamic data. They need to be able to do what any app can do, things like taking action on behalf of a customer. For example, placing an order at an online store. They need to be rapidly iterable. We should be able to deploy new capabilities without writing a bunch of boilerplate code. For example, if we wanted to expand our experience to know about existing orders. And finally, they need to handle complex business logic, things that would require access to data in multiple APIs, like answering when an order is scheduled to arrive. Today, there are a few ways to grant access to this data. Traditional RAG, plugins, and raw SQL queries, for example. These may work for tightly scoped experiences, but each come with their own trade-offs, like data consistency, more APIs to build and maintain, or a tight coupling between clients and databases. These are familiar problems that we've all solved for other client experiences, and LLM-driven applications are no different. Answering a complex question like, when will my order arrive, isn't just a value that can be pulled from a row in a database. It's the result of a complex set of API calls involving warehouse inventory, shipping costs, carrier selection, and more. With GraphQL, we can expose any API in our organization through a unified endpoint. Instead of making a bunch of requests to different APIs, we can get it all in a single request and let the query planner manage orchestration behind the scenes. And with tools from Apollo like safe-listed persisted queries and contracts, we can safely limit the type of operations that the LLM-driven experience can call, and even limit what data is available at the router, supplying data governance and trusted data access controls at the source. We can use GraphQL to provide trusted and predictable access to data within our organization. One example of what this could look like is with a chatbot. Say we're building an LLM-driven chatbot for a store that sells winter sports gear, things like snowboards and skis. Our chatbot needs real-time access to things like product data, but maybe we aren't ready to give it information about our users. For something like this, our chatbot doesn't need to be constantly retraining, fine-tuning, or even a true subject matter expert on our product. It just needs to know where and how to get the data. So if we ask for something like, what products do you sell? Our LLM-driven application can look through a list of safe-listed GraphQL operations and pick the one that looks most likely to satisfy the request. In this case, it's an operation that gets general information about our store. There aren't any required variables, so we can just send it off and get the data back to the user as quickly as possible. And if we ask for something more detailed, like, how much does the draft snowboard cost? We go through a similar process of finding the right GraphQL operation, but this time we pull out relevant information from the question and send it along with the operation, like draft snowboard. Now we'll get back detailed and dynamic information about a specific product without going through the time-consuming and costly process of retraining. And since we're pulling this information real-time from an API, we can even get timely details, like the current quantity in stock. Best of all, because our LLM only has access to the operations we've listed, if someone asks about order information or customers, the chatbot will just respond that it can't answer questions like that. And that governance doesn't happen through a prompt. It's protected at the API. By using Apollo and GraphQL, we can provide governable, trusted access to our existing APIs, whether they're powering a mobile app or an LLM-driven chatbot. Follow the link at the end of this video to learn more and try the open source demo today.